a traditional lender is not going to remove that clause from their mortgage. Obviously, that mortgage would be in play probably before you even get to that seller in the first place. But from what I understand is, and what I see, people are still doing this. And let me put a little caveat on here is that you're not supposed to transfer the property subject to the mortgage. It's a breach of the mortgage, and it could technically trigger an acceleration clause in the mortgage, which would cause it to be immediately due. Now, with that being said, a lot of people are still doing it, and I haven't heard anybody triggering it quite yet. So in essence, the strategy there is that these investors are, the way that they're doing it and is that they're not notifying the lender. So the correct way to really do it is to do an assumption. But I understand that that's not always available. And, being investors, you have to come up with creative solutions to problems that deals that typically can't get done. So along those same lines, I could never recommend to you to breach a contract. But the way that you would do it is, the way they would do it is that you would close on the deal, record the deed, you wouldn't notify the lender, and then you would just continue making the payments. And I think that's what I think that was the question. Ultimately, it's, if the lender finds out, it may cause an issue, but if they don't, and there's no reason to look into it, and payments keep being made, you may end up working out for the duration of whatever the agreement is. So that is the way to do it, is you just wouldn't notify the lender of the transfer without doing the assumption.
Got it. So I was told by a few people that if you deed it to like a land deed, that it's less suspicious to the lender if they did find a change of ownership. Is that a possibility, or
Are you talking about a land contract?
not a land contract, but you deed it to, let's say it's like 123 Main Street. You would deed it to the new owner, which is you, would be 123 Main Street land. Is that a possibility, or that's just focused on here?
I think the issue is beyond that. I think you're going to record those either way to protect your interest. I think either way you have an equal chance of that lender finding out, which is ultimately what you're trying to avoid, is them finding out that the property's been sold, so they don't trigger that due on sale clause. So if you're recording any kind of deed or interest in the property, it literally, the index comes up as soon as they search the person's name. So any documents that are related to it are going to pop up, and they're going to take a look at it if there's a reason for them to check in on it. So to me, if you're recording those, I don't think there's an advantage one way or another, because they're going to see it on record, whether you use a deed or whatever instrument that we're talking about.
Got it. So here's an idea. What if you have the seller sign everything, all like the deed documents, but you don't record it? That way there's no public information of a change in ownership. Is that a possibility?
You could absolutely do that. Now, let me add this in. So the recording process is simply a formality. You can transfer ownership of a property by handing one deed to somebody else. It doesn't need to be recorded to transfer property. The reason you record is to protect your interest in the property. If that makes any sense, the reason you record it is to protect you as a buyer, because if you don't record it and that seller then racks up a whole bunch of judgments, that, even though you transferred it prior, technically by handing the deed over, those judgments are going to attach to your property, and that's something you don't want to do. And a lot of the times, the reason that you're getting the deal is because we were able to resolve some kind of title issue that didn't go through a traditional means. So I wouldn't recommend not recording, because you could end up putting yourself in a very bad situation where you're going to owe someone else's debt, and you're never going to be able to sell your property.
Got it. Makes sense.